How do you feel about religious charter schools getting federal funding and taxpayer dollars? You know, like a school dedicated to Catholicism or Judaism or Hinduism or teaching kids how to be Muslim, you know, that kind of school. Except it's not a private school where people get either some sort of scholarship or they pay their own way. It's your taxpayer dollars going to religious education. Religious organizations running public charter schools. Doesn't that ring and smack of a violation of the separation of church and state upon which this country is built? And what are the 8, not 9, United States Supreme Court justices going to do about it? We just had a heated, pitched oral argument. I'm going to talk about where I think this is going to go and why John Roberts, the Chief Justice, if he sides with the other side, with the Democrats and the moderates, and goes 4-4, then religious charter schools funded by taxpayer dollars are going to die. If he sides with the alt-right, they're going to prevail 5-3. Which is it, Popok? Tell us about the oral argument. I will. Right here on Legal AF. Now, look, we're starting to do the live feeds for these oral arguments. There's a few left in the tank for the rest of this term for the Supreme Court. We're going to be doing them live as well for all the other federal appellate courts that allow. Usually it's audio. And so come right here on Legal AF, hit the subscribe button. You'll get the reminders when we go live on these arguments, and then we do the commentary afterwards. Now, I've had a chance to listen to the hour-and-a-half argument and kind of digest everything that went on and read the briefs. And here's what I sort of picked up from the argument. For Kavanaugh, Alito, and Thomas, it's a lost cause. They believe that the First Amendment of the United States allows free exercise of religion. And for them, free exercise means that a religion should not be discriminated against. And so you have to give taxpayer dollars to all religions. And if you give it to all religions, see, you're not discriminating and you're allowing for free exercise. But to the other argument, which is led by Sotomayor and Kagan, Ketanji Brown Jackson, and others like me, we believe in the Establishment Clause, which is also in the First Amendment. And there's always this tension between the Free Exercise Clause and the Establishment Clause. Free exercise, worship as you please, or none at all. Establishment Clause, the government shall not be in the business of promoting one religion over another or any religion. And you can synthesize and reconcile those two things without going through the mental gymnastics and tortuous interpretation that somebody like Kavanaugh says. So for the Kavanaughs, Alitos, Gorsuch's, and Thomas's, it's all about free exercise. It's all about not allowing Catholics in particular to be abused, because where will their children go to school? I don't know. Same place the kids I grew up with went to school, Catholic school. And if they couldn't afford it, their parents were on the poorer side or middle class side, they got tuition remission or scholarships. You know, how about all of these law firms and other public companies that are bending over for Donald Trump? Why don't they set up a scholarship fund and let the kids that want to become Muslim, Jewish, Catholic, or their parents do, send them to school, but don't use my taxpayer dollars. So what happened on during the oral argument that went on for a long amount of time? First of all, the reason that a 4-4 tie is a good thing, now that Ketanji Brown Jackson, now that Amy Coney Barrett is head for the exit and was not in the oral argument and will not read the briefs and will not deliberate and will not vote because of her close relationship with a professor at the University of Notre Dame that worked with this Catholic charter school. Because this is the Catholics and the religious right's wet dream, to have public money used for their religious education. Think about it. So why is 4-4 good? Because if you can believe it, even though this case came out of Oklahoma of all places, it's pretty ruby red. The Supreme Court in Oklahoma, which is the underlying decision, ruled that the use of taxpayer dollars for charter schools, religious schools operating charter schools with religious organizations operating charter schools with public money, violated the First Amendment, the Establishment Clause. And if the 4-4 means that ruling of the Supreme Court doesn't disturb the lower court's decision, it stands, so no public funding of religious charter schools. That's why 4-4 is okay here. Sure, MAGA and the Heritage Foundation and the religious right could find another case a year or two from now and try to send that up, but we'll deal with that then. Let's take the win if we can get it. So we got to fight. There's no way we're going to, let me just manage expectations. There's no way on God's green earth, no pun intended, that we're going to get on the Democrat moderate side a 5-3 in our favor to once and for all determine that charter schools cannot be run by religious organizations with taxpayer dollars. Not happening. The best we can fight for is a 4-4. Roberts, knowing that, was very quiet during the, in a way that he's not usual. He was more like moderating. Oh, Justice Kagan. Oh, yes, Justice Alito has a question. Oh, yes, Justice, but he wasn't saying much. But the others were. So Kavanaugh's like, I'll just show you the debate that really broke out between Sotomayor and Kagan. Let's start with, on the Kavanaugh side, having Amy Coney Barrett, of course, having stepped out. Well, I'll start with Alito. Alito first questioned how religious schools could become the only option for students in some areas. Like, why would that be the only option for a parent? The parent could always send his or her child to the schools that you characterize as public schools. But in some jurisdictions, there are only charter schools, right? So Alito says there has to be an opt-out. The kids can't only go to a Catholic charter school. And Alito accused the Oklahoma Attorney General's office, who's defending the Oklahoma Supreme Court's decision, of being motivated by hostility towards a particular religion. But rather than use Catholic, he said, you look like you're against Muslims and Islam, putting him back on his heels. Ketanji Brown Jackson noted that the Oklahoma decision supports religious education through vouchers to defray the cost of private school. So go to private school. Kagan then asked what would happen in the more than 40 states with charter schools if the higher court allowed religious schools to get public funding. What kind of issues would they have to confront in the future? And then we add the battle for sort of the soul of the argument. And here's what, it looks like it's Catholic bigotry. But Sotomayor says what you're trying to do with this argument is that you're trying to have the free exercise clause eat and get rid of and edit out of the First Amendment the establishment clause, that no religion shall be established by the public and by the federal government. And how do you square those two things? It's easy to square. You do you. You pray to, or don't pray to whoever you want, and we won't do anything to promote or put our thumb on the scale one side or the other. But to Justice Kavanaugh and the others on there, like Alito, who's a devout Catholic, what he hears is, no, the way to solve the problem is we just fund all the religious schools with public dollars. So there's no discrimination. It's a ridiculous position. I hope Roberts, even though he has sided generally in favor of religion in the public square in prior cases, that's why there's so few bricks now separating the wall between, having the wall between church and state even exist, because of prior rulings led by John Roberts. But he may, in this circumstance, he may sit in the middle and side 4-4, knowing there could be a future case that maybe Amy Coney Barrett could be involved with because her best friend isn't on the other side. So we'll need to follow it. My opinion is that I think it's about a 60% chance that it's going to be a 4-4 tie, that Roberts is going to sit in the middle and not go hard right. And a 40% chance that the right-wing conservatives are going to drag Roberts over to that side, which won't be so hard to drag. He has ruled in favor of church over state in various other cases and in prayer and that kind of thing. But I still think it's a 60% chance. If I'm wrong, I'm going to come back one way or the other. I'll come back and tell you what the end result is right here on Legal AF. Take a moment. Got two ways to support us. Hit the subscribe button here on Legal AF, and also go over to the Substack for Legal AF and hit the button there as well, and subscribe for all amazing content at that intersection of law and politics. So until my next report, I'm Michael Popok. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.